What is up, guys? Under here and now I'm back, and I've got a special audio commentary for you today. As the title says, the pros and cons of AEW so far. So basically, this is a video I've had in the back burner for a little while. I've been meaning to do it for a few weeks and I just haven't got round to it. And I think now's as good a time as any. AEW's been on television for about 4 months now, and obviously before that had a few big shows, a few pay-per-views before that. And yeah, this is basically just we're gonna have a little balanced look at AEW, and that's really the goal for about this, to have a balanced conversation about what's good about AEW and what's not so good about AEW. Because I feel like a lot of people are really biased on both sides. Because on one side, I think the AEW fans, the die-hard AEW fans, will tell you that AEW is this awesome, perfect thing, and is just so great and everything's perfect and all that. Then you get the other people like the die-hard WWE marks who just really can't wait to shit on anything AEW does. Or people like Jim Cornette, who just blatantly hates Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. And as much as I respect Cornette, I feel like that just completely clouds his judgment on the promotion. So I've picked 10 pros and I've picked 10 cons. And we're going to go through them and talk a little bit about them. And I'd like to see your guys' thoughts on this anyway, because if not, it's just me talking to myself, really. So, yeah, so I'd appreciate some comments in the section below about this. So let's get to it. I just want to say for the record, I'm neutral on AEW at the moment. I'm not a die-hard AEW fan. I like the product for the most part, but I'm not an AEW hater either. I will say on the record, as far as a Wednesday night show, most of the time NXT is probably the better show of the two, but that's just me, that's just my opinion. And one thing I just want to point out, I don't watch AEW Dark, not really interested on that, so but let's be that's a B show, that's not really important. But I've watched every single episode of Dynamite up until this point, so I'll talk about stuff on there. So let's start with the cons, and then we can get through the cons, and then we'll end the video on a high note by pointing out the pros. So, number 1, the Nightmare Collective. For me, there's some bad gimmicks in AEW, there really is, but a lot of them are dark-like stuff. Like, for example, I don't really like the Peter Avalon, the Librarian gimmick. I think that's pretty crap. I mean, I would talk about Orange Cassidy, but to be balanced here, I might not like Orange Cassidy. I might think he's lame as hell. However, to the fans, to the crowd, Orange Cassidy's pretty over. The fans seem to enjoy him, so maybe Orange Cassidy is something that I don't like, but it's getting over. So, can I say Orange Cassidy's wrong? No, not really, because the fans do seem to enjoy it, but I think there's 2 main acts I want to talk about here, but one's coming up later on. Initially, the Nightmare Collective thing's awful. The whole thing with Brandy Rose and Awesome Kong, and now Melanie Cruz and Luther's involved. I just don't really get the gimmick. I don't believe Brandy Rose in this role at all. I just don't think she's very believable in this role at all. And then you've got this person like Awesome Kong. In the past, something of a decent level star in TNA, and of course the WWE run of Karma was just riddled with so much bad luck, but there was potential there. I mean, Awesome Kong's a pretty simple character to build up. She's a massive woman, a badass woman, so why can't you just be the old Awesome Kong, you know? And it's not like it's a gimmick the WWE owns or anything, so I think I just much prefer Awesome Kong being the old school Awesome Kong from like 2008, 2009, whenever it was. Then Melanie Cruz, yeah. And from day one, I think the act wasn't really working. But I think AEW's, I think it's because, I'm assuming this is probably one of Brandy's projects. Brandy's probably heavily involved booking creatively for this one. And because she's a wife of Cody and all that, I think AEW's just been stubbornly trying to make it get over. I mean, there's another act I'll talk about, which I do think, yeah, it sucks, but I do think AEW is actively trying to improve it. But we'll get to that in a second. So Nightmare Collective, that one stands out for me. And this one's a big one. Number 2, cold debuts. And what do I mean by that? I mean, there's certain times AEW, especially, they'll just put an act on the people don't really know and just expect them to know it. I mean, so 3 examples really. On the first Double or Nothing show, the original Dark Order, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, and then those minion type people debuted in one of the tag matches. I think it was a Jack Evans and Angelico tag match, I think. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but I think it was that one. They just debuted and you could tell the fans had no idea who the hell they were. And the reaction was just like, wah, wah, wah. Who are these guys? And then there's 2 more. Not sure when it was. I think it was in December maybe. It was a bit after Full Giving. It was the debut of the Butcher and the Blade. Because he came in and attacked Cody. But the problem is, I don't think people really knew who the hell they were, and they basically got no reaction, and it just basically went over like a wet fart in church or something. And then, not too long ago, when Luther just randomly showed up as a member of the Dark Order, I was like, who the hell is this guy? I mean, I think the biggest thing, I think the AEW management kind of assumes that the AEW fans watch every little bit of wrestling there is. So for me, I had no idea who the Butcher and the Blade were. As a matter of fact, when I first saw it, I thought one of them was Silas Young, but it's not. I don't know anything about it. And Luther's apparently a deathmatch wrestler from Japan, but you could tell when he came out, 95% of the crowd had no idea who this guy was. I think when you get guys with like a decent name, like when LAX, for example, or Santana and Ortiz debuted at the All Out pay-per-view attacking the Young Bucks, that worked because Santana and Ortiz had a bit of a name in Impact Wrestling, so fans knew who they were. Or say in the future, because let's face it, I think Blue Cart was probably coming to AEW next month, or Brody Lee or whatever it's going to be called. And it's probably fine to debut someone like that because they'll know, that's Luke Harper or Brody Lee or whoever it is. I think when they're going to sign, because apparently they're in talks to sign people like Lance Archer, so when people like him come in, yeah, you can debut him like that. But when it's an act that's not very well known, you kind of need to let the audience know who the hell they are. Because I think that's what AEW don't realise. A lot of the guys that they signed on the roster, they've never really made a big in wrestling before, and only the people that really watch everything are going to know who they are. So you know what I mean? So I think they've done that a couple of times now, and I really think they need to rethink the strategy when they debut, when they sign relative unknowns. You can maybe introduce them on Dark sometimes, or do a little video package, or just have the announcers explain who the hell this guy is. So at least people have a clue who they are. Don't just debut them like that out of nowhere and just expect people to know who the hell they were. So then, number 3, and I think this is one they've actually improved on a little bit over the last few weeks, is I think this is most true, especially in the beginning stage of AEW. A lot of the shows were just random matches for no apparent reason. There's really lack of storylines, especially in the mid-card matches. Main event matches, yeah, and then semi-main event matches, sure, I feel like at least some had a story, but then sometimes I get random tag team matches with really no reason other than just to have a decent match or stuff like that. And I do actually think this is an NXT problem as well, but I think NXT do it a little bit better than AEW. So yeah, especially in the mid-card and in the women's division and stuff like that, there's just matches on there for no real reason. And sometimes the match will get announced, but the guys won't get any mic time or anything to promote the match or anything like that. Then number 4, and this I think this will come in time, and I just think overall audio / production issues. I mean, to give AEW some slack here, WWE's had decades and decades and decades of experience in television production. To them, that's second nature. So I do take into account that AEW is a new company and they maybe lack experience in this department. So they probably don't have the slick production staff and audio staff that WWE has, because their guys have been there for many, many years. But sometimes I'm watching Dynamite, sometimes it's too loud, and then sometimes I just can't hear. One thing that stands out like a sore thumb sometimes, I don't know how many people notice it, but when they come from a commercial break and they come back and there's a backstage segment, we'll cut to a segment, but the Dynamite music's still playing on right for the first like 10-20 seconds of this guy's promo. So you hear the music, but you're trying to listen to the interview as well, and you're thinking, huh. So it just comes across as amateurish and indie-ish. And if you're going to be on a major network like TNT, and you want to like draw in television viewers, you've got to have better production and better audio. But I will say about AEW, I do think this is improving, and it will get better over time. Then for me, and this is a big one, number 5, lack of character development in the undercard. Yeah, I just feel like a lot of guys in the AEW roster are good wrestlers, but I don't really know anything about them, and there's nothing about them that really stands out. I do think at times this is an issue in NXT as well, but I feel like for the NXT do it a lot better. They like some of the like people like B Priestley and Kip Sabian and people like that. What's the character? Why should I care about these people? Why do these people stand up? People like QT Marshall, who the hell is he? What? See, Brandon Cutler. So there's guys like that I think a lot of guys are just so on the roster are just so generic and don't really mean anything. I think especially in the beginning, you'd get these matches. So sometimes in the women's division, a match would be announced, but the people in the match wouldn't really promote or anything. I think the biggest time that stood out for me. So do you remember quite early on the run, a few weeks into the run, you had Darby Allin become the number 1 contender for Chris Jericho for the world title. This match is going to take place next week. But the problem was, they never bothered to give Darby any interview time. Nothing, not a video package, nothing. It would have only took them like maybe 2 minutes to give Darby Allin a promo to explain his goals and explain why he does what he does and what's his why he wants to be the AEW champion and all that sort of stuff. What does this mean to him? What makes this guy tick? And I think overall for Darby, because I think Darby Allin's one of the guys that has huge potential in AEW. I think he could be one of their breakout guys. Because I think he's kind of got so much, he's got an interesting look, a good style and all that, but I don't know a thing about him. And they can do this as well, because I've seen stuff on some of these Raw 2 shows on YouTube that they put out there. But I think they need more stuff like this on the television show, because tell the fans why you should care about these guys. I mean, yeah, I just feel apart from it, like maybe the top guys and maybe the odd new act like MJF or the Private Party or stuff like that, so many people are really just generic, and that's the big problem. That's something I think they really need to improve on in the future. Then number 6, and I feel so sad saying this one, Jim Ross. I mean, I just want to make this clear, Jim Ross is one of my heroes in this wrestling business. I absolutely love Jim Ross. I admire the man so much. For me, for what he does, wrestling announcing, the greatest of all time in my book. I mean, I just don't really see anyone else who really deserves that accolade any more than Jim Ross, to be honest. But that was in the past. I mean, and I really noticed this when he did the New Japan stuff on Access TV and stuff like that. Especially when they were doing the live specials like the G1 Supercards and stuff like that. Jim Ross just doesn't have it anymore. I mean, and I love Jim Ross, but I just don't think Jim Ross works in 2019, 2020. And I also noticed this, you remember when him and Lee did the Mae Young Classic in like, I want to say it was 2017 or 2018, I can't remember which one it was. I don't think he did them both, so I want to say it was 2017, because that's when he got brought back to the company, wasn't it? I kind of noticed he was a little bit out of touch there. And that's the thing, like, and it's kind of clear, because Jim Ross, how old is Jim? Jim Ross is 68 years old, so of course Jim Ross is going to be a bit out of touch on modern wrestling. I mean, because Jim Ross was brought up on Mid-South Wrestling with Bill Watts and all that, then the NWA, and then WWF, WWE in the Attitude Era, early 2000s and stuff like that. I think even towards his time in WWE, you could tell Jim Ross wasn't as good as he used to be. I just feel like for the most part, he seems tired and lethargic during the shows. Sometimes he just comes across as a grumpy old man, that old man that yells at the crowd, and sometimes he even mispronounces wrestlers' names. I mean, I've seen that on a number of occasions. I think he's good when the match suits his style, so I think he does really. I think his best work was probably during the Cody Dustin match at Double or Nothing, because obviously that's because he's familiar with the Rhodes family story. Dustin's a guy from his era, so he knows all that. I think some of the stuff in like a Chris Jericho match, for example, he's pretty good at that. But when he's calling like these super athletic spot fests and stuff like that, because I think wrestling's changed so much over the last 40 years. Hell, it's changed so much over the last 5 or 10 years for that matter. And I just feel like I understand why they have Jim Ross there, because he's a name. He's someone that people instantly recognise, and if you're flipping channels and you recognise the voice, you go, oh, that's JR from WWE, isn't it? So it might make people check the product out, but I just think he's doing more harm than good. Because I think because they got Tony Schiavone as well, haven't they? But I think Tony Schiavone's like similar age, similar era to JR. He's probably a little bit younger, but not a lot younger. I feel like he does a much better job than JR. I think Excalibur, not bad, not great, but not bad. But they have got Taz now, and I think that has potential. I think Taz could do a really good job. So if I'm AEW, I'd say keep Jim, because apparently he's Raw's also an advisor. So keep Jim Ross on the books. Maybe have him mentor some young talent, because he knows a lot. He's been around for a long time. He's seen and done it all. I mean, he could maybe teach some of these young guys some psychology and some storytelling and stuff like that. But I'm AEW, I'd probably try to phase him out of being the voice of the company right now, because I think they're trying to promote youth, and this is a youthful, cool product. And yeah, I just don't think it really works with Jim Ross, to be honest. And that's a shame, because I love Jim Ross. I think, like I say, I think he's the greatest of all time. So I do kind of feel bad saying stuff like this, but I just got what it is, isn't it? I think, and by what online reaction I see, I think a lot of people agree with me as well. So yeah, and then number 7, The Dark Order. However, I will put this as a con, but I feel like this can be improved, and in time this can eventually be a pro. So let me explain. So The Dark Order debuts in I think it was the All Out. No, it was Double or Nothing, wasn't it? And at first it was like, who the hell are these guys? It was just a gimmick that didn't really work. And then they kind of changed it into a cult. They were doing these backstage promos, these vignettes of join the Dark Order and all that sort of stuff. And then they sent the 18th Dynamite when this one really shit the bed. So from what I understand, I don't know how true this is, but what I understand, because they've been talking about a leader and all that, and this is why I might put it as a con for now, but it could become better. So from what I gather, the leader of the Dark Order was supposed to be Marty Scurll. His Ring of Honor contract had just expired, and it pretty much seemed like the worst kept secret in wrestling that Marty was coming to AEW and all that. And this would have been a good role for him, because the storyline writes itself, right? The Elite moved on without him and left him behind, so now he was coming back for revenge. Now he's going to lead his group to take down the Elite. And I think that's why they did the thing at the end of that Dynamite where the Dark Order came out and attacked all the baby faces. So Kenny Omega, Cody and Dustin, the Young Bucks. Dark Order whipped ass, and it just shit the bed so much. I think the big problem for that was, so they just started the vignettes, and then they went to that, so it's kind of like they went from 1 to like 99, 100 in less than a week. So if they built the Dark Order up for a while, like 2 or 3 months straight of solid booking, and then put them in that angle with the Elite at the end of that show, it might have come across as better. But yeah, I suppose you've got to give them credit for trying something, but I think the online, put it this way, even Dave Meltzer criticised that one, and Dave Meltzer's so far up the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega's arses that if he's saying that's bad, then it must have been pretty bad. I mean, I don't think I've spoken to anyone who actually thought that it was good. And the reason I put this as a con for now is because I think since then AEW, I'll give AEW some credit here. I think they saw the online reaction, well, not the online reaction, just the general reaction, really. I think because of crowd shitting as well. I think, and the fact that they didn't get Marty, because I think that was the plan, to get Marty Scurll, but Ring of Honor bent over backwards to keep him. They offered Marty Scurll like absolutely ridiculous money to stay. Hell, they even offered him the book, so Marty Scurll's now even booking Ring of Honor along with Delirious. So Marty Scurll hasn't come to AEW. He's signed a new contract with Ring of Honor. For how long, I don't know, but assume it's a long-term deal. So for now, Marty Scurll's not coming in. So it's going to be interesting to see who the leader of this Dark Order is. I mean, if they can get someone good to fill that role, like one theory I've heard is because this guy's WWE's contract's coming up, and it's pretty much 90-95% certain he's out the doors. Matt Hardy is apparently his contract comes up at the end of this month, so if that's the case, that means he can debut in March. So if they get someone like that to lead the Dark Order, then maybe it's got a chance, or maybe someone like Brody Lee or Luke Harper when he comes in. And one thing, so they pulled back for that, and I think this is something they deserve credit for. They've then put them in a feud of SCU, which I feel like that's just so much better, so much lower on the card, so a lot lower pressure spot. And that one actually does have potential. And I just read recently that because I don't really watch Being the Elite, I'm just not that asked about it, that they were hinting that maybe Christopher Daniels is going to turn in SCU and become the leader of the Dark Order. I guess because he's had dark personas in the past, like the Fallen Angel, and what was that one in TNA that he had when he had that little face paint thing around his eye when he feuded with Sting? Can't remember what. I can't remember what the name of the character was, but that was a little bit darker character as well. So maybe that'll work. But yeah, I think for the most part, the Dark Order hasn't worked so far, but maybe it could. So number 8, Sean Spears and Tully Blanchard. What the hell happened to Sean Spears? So Sean Spears, aka Ty Dillinger, one time was a pretty upper mid-card guy in NXT. He had the perfect 10 gimmick, and he was really over as a babyface of the NXT faithful. Did really well for himself. Considering he was a guy that he hadn't really used before, he got himself over, and then ended up going to the main roster on SmackDown and just kind of shit the bed. Never happened for him. Left WWE early last year to go to AEW. I was like, okay, we've got this guy. So I just want to point this out. Not saying Sean Spears should be a top guy in AEW. Not saying that. Not a main event level guy for me, but upper mid carder, working with some young baby faces, having good feuds with them. Yeah, I mean, and he came in with so much promise as well. If you remember that outdoor was a fight for the Fallen, or maybe fight one of the two. Can't remember which one. He did that huge angle with Cody where he lays Cody out with a steel chair. And then he starts a big feud of Cody going to the All Out pay-per-view. And then he gets Tully Blanchard as his manager. I thought that was friggin' awesome. Bring Tully Blanchard back. Yeah, a legend like Tully Blanchard, and give him a role like that. Thought that was bloody great. Thought it was absolutely fantastic. Thought it was brilliant. And I think like that partnership has so much potential, because you've got a name like Tully Blanchard who's got all this knowledge. Obviously hasn't wrestled for many years, but he can make a great manager. Then you have this feud with Cody, and then after Cody beat him at All Out, then he just kind of faded away. Now what the hell's he doing? Yeah, you had that little feud with Joey Janela for Full Gear, but seriously, what's Sean Spears done over the last few months? He's pretty much in the same position he was in WWE, wasn't he, really? I mean, honestly, is Sean Spears any better off now than when he was on SmackDown? I don't think so. I mean, I really don't. And I just don't know what the hell they're going to do for next. Because they were teasing that Tully Blanchard was going to find him a tag team partner to go into the tag team division, but they seem to drop that storyline like fairly quickly. And they've got Tully Blanchard, so alright, the things that they've given up, well, maybe not giving up on Sean Spears, but they're certainly not pushing him. So you've got this great mouthpiece in Tully Blanchard, awesome promo, awesome old school promo, so why not put him with a young guy in the roster and bring him up to that? Mate, why can't he manage someone in the women's division or something like that? Or manage one of the tag teams? I'm not sure who, but guys like that. So why can't you utilise Tully Blanchard more? I mean, they're just not really doing anything right now. And that's a real shame, because I thought Sean Spears and Tully Blanchard as a double act had a hell of a lot of potential, but it just hasn't really gone well at all. Then number 9, and I'll say this is probably one of the biggest cons of the company, and that is the women's division. It just hasn't been good. Let's be honest, and this is not due to a lack of effort from AEW's part. I just don't think the quality is there. And I think for the most part, it's probably been one of the women's matches and the women's feuds have just been one of the most least enjoyable parts of the entire product. I mean, I think the thing is, with the women's wrestlers right now, I would say the majority of the good ones are under contract to WWE. So, when you look at what NXT's got, so these are the women NXT's got. And this is just NXT US, not just UK either. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler, Io Shirai, Candice LeRae, now Shotzi Blackheart, Dakota Kai, Tegan Knox. Do you want me to go on? Yeah. So, does anyone AEW have even compared to any of these? No. So for me, and the women's champion Rio, I mean, she's another prime example of not enough character development. Who the hell is Rio? I mean, she's a Joshi wrestler, I get that, but I think she comes across as a poor woman's version of Asuka or Kairi Sane. Because I think the best Japanese women wrestlers are on the WWE roster. So Asuka, Kairi Sane, Io Shirai, I think they are, all three of them, piss all over Rio. I think Rio's a good enough wrestler, but I think she's literally got no persona. She can't speak English, so she can't communicate. And given the fact she looks about 13 years old, I mean, it looks like I've probably had nails that probably weigh more than Rio. And I think there was a long period where she wasn't even on the show, because she's got commitments in other promotions, like whatever Japanese women's promotion she's a part of. So, and then you've got people like Bea Priestley, good wrestler, but not really persona. They brought in that Chris Statlander, who's a decent enough wrestler, but I think that alien gimmick, whatever the hell she's trying to do, was just a bit stupid. Then there's like other Japanese women's wrestlers like Emi Sakura, Hikaru Shida, and they're just like they're good enough in the ring, but what they really bring to the table. Then people like Sadie Gibbs, Penelope Ford, decent wrestlers, but that's about it. And then you got Britt Baker. I think it's unfortunate, because I thought she had a lot of potential, and I think maybe she still does, because she started off as a babyface and that didn't really work, and now she's turned heel, and she's had 2 heel promos over the last 2 weeks, and they both kind of shit the bed. So hoping maybe it's just Britt Baker being a bit green, and maybe I think she'll get better over time. I really hope she does, because it would be a shame if it didn't work out for her. And then ironically, I think the most exciting match that AEW has put on for his division was that Rio and Nyla Rose one from the very first Dynamite, if you remember that. I think that was easily the best women's match that they've had so far. And it looks like that's where they're going for the next, because it looks like it's going to be a rematch, probably at Revolution, because now I'm sure Nyla Rose is the number 1 contender, isn't she? And yes, it's a she, so we'll have no jokes about that, please. So if it was me, I'd switch the belt onto Nia Rose, let her be the big powerful champion, and try to build these women. So try to build these babyface women to challenge her. Let her dominate for quite a while. Then once you've got someone up to that level, then they could beat her. And I'm not sure how you rectify the stuff, because who's available that can make this women's division better? Like I say, the majority of the best women's wrestlers in the world are contracted to WWE, and that's including the UK brand as well. I suppose Tessa Blanchard would be an ideal candidate, but do you really bring her in after all these allegations that have been brought against her over the last few weeks? I think you probably kind of want to stay away from that for now. And she's an Impact anyway, and she's Impact World Champion, so I imagine she probably doesn't really have any desire to leave Impact for a while. Then you look, I think Mercedes Martinez would have been a really good choice, but she went to WWE, didn't she? As far as veteran women, because I think even the NWA women's division is a lot better than this one as well. I mean, look at the one that NWA has got. They've got Thunder Rosa, Allysin Kay, Melina, ODB, what's her face, Marty Bell, Ashley Vox. I think most of them women are better than the AEW ones as well. But I hope this gets better, I really do, because up to now it's really not been up to snuff. And if it's a direct competitor to NXT, the NXT one just blows this one out of water. I mean, look at that Battle Royal that they had a few weeks ago. Majority of those women are better than the ones on the AEW roster. So, yeah. And number 10, the last one, and I kind of feel bad about putting this down as a con, because it is based on good intentions. And I don't know, this is just me, but does Kenny Omega not really seem like a big star in AEW? Considering the fact that Kenny Omega got over so much as a star in New Japan Pro Wrestling, there was so much buzz behind him. He's come to AEW and fairly quickly just been another guy in the roster. Is that just me thinking that, or is that right or wrong? You know, and when I say it's a good intention, because I think this is intentional, because Omega in the books, but I think Omega more so, because the VPs in the company, they didn't really want to book themselves too strongly. So Omega, he's lost most of his big matches, hasn't he? I mean, he lost to Chris Jericho at All Out, and then lost to Double or Nothing, Pac at All Out. They got beat off John Moxley at Full Gear, and now he's settled into a tag division role of Adam Page, and he's one of the tag team champions at the moment. But you're just thinking, Kenny Omega should have been one of the guys. I mean, you got Jericho, you got Moxley, you got Cody. Kenny Omega should be in that bracket. I mean, and I guess if they're obviously a 2-hour television show every week and a pay-per-view every few months, it's kind of hard to get the Kenny Omega in New Japan, because Kenny Omega's New Japan run was based around these big shows, having these 30-minute tremendous epic matches. But if you've got a 2-hour TV, you don't really have time to do that. So we have seen the Kenny Omega, the big match Kenny Omega is in patches. I mean, particularly, I think when you had that match of Joey Janela at Dark, that was pretty awesome and polarising as the match was. I personally loved the one with John Moxley there, Full Gear. I thought that was great. The Pac match, I think the Pac match could have been a little bit better, but it was still great. So I'm hoping, because I think the thing is, the elite guys didn't really want to book themselves as mega stars. I mean, the only one that's really been booked consistently strong since AEW started was Cody. But Omega in the books, because I think they didn't want to, because it's a catch-22, it's a tough situation. Because if you book yourselves really strongly, you're going to get the accusation, oh, you guys are in the company, you're just booking yourselves to go over. But because I think for the fan base AEW have, the AEW fan base love the elite, love Omega in the books, and I think the fans wanted to see them be major stars and be in major angles and winning big matches, and because it hasn't gone that way, I think that's disappointed a lot of people, including me. And I think in Omega's case especially, I mean, I do feel like if Moxley beats Jericho, you can then build Kenny Omega back up to the point where he takes the belt off John Moxley and kind of becomes a guy for a little while. But maybe that's just me, you know. So I'm interested to hear what people think about the Kenny Omega point I just made there. So those are the cons of AEW. So let's move on to the good stuff. We'll end the video with the good stuff. So now I've depressed you all and made you feel bad about watching this video about AEW, I'm going to bring you back up and talk to you about some of the good stuff about AEW. And number one, remember when I slagged the women's division? Well, on this side, I'm going to overwhelmingly praise the tag team division. I feel like AEW, and this has got to be a Young Bucks thing, because I think it's their goal to really build the tag team division up. We might even get to the point, if they go this direction in the future, that maybe the tag team titles can main event pay-per-views every now and then. But I think if you've got nice depth to the division, I think you've got a number of good tag teams. You can have two or three tag team feuds going at the same time. So when AEW really started the double or nothing, that was one of the first things I noticed. Wow, they've actually got some pretty good teams on here, and even like the lower level teams are really good. So obviously the Young Bucks, they're what they are. I mean, everyone knows all about the Young Bucks, but they've got SCU, who are being the tag team champions, and they've only up until winning Omega and Page. So now Omega and Page have briefly dropped out the tag team division, but I don't think that'll be a long term thing. I can see them losing. I can actually see them losing the tag team titles to the Young Bucks and then breaking off. But then you've got the Lucha Bros, Pentagon and Phoenix. I mean, they're an awesome tag team. Absolutely great stuff. I mean, the feud they had with the Young Bucks was great. The two pay-per-view matches were excellent, especially the ladder match. Then you got Proud and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz. They're, of course, the former LAX from Impact Wrestling. They're a great tag team. Hell, they could be tag team champions, and I don't think anyone would batter an eyelid over it. Then you got people like the Best Friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta. Pretty good tag team. I wouldn't say not that really good personality, but pretty good tag team. Then you got team like Jack Evans and Angelico. Maybe a bit flippy and generic, but they do have a good upside. And then Private Party, who I'm really big on. I feel like these guys can be the future of the AEW tag team division. This is a team that could be a tag team for a good 5, 6, 7 years, because they're both young and they've got a pretty good gimmick. And this is the sort of team you could see having the long feud of the Young Bucks, like say maybe Roppongi Vice or Roppongi 3K did back in New Japan. You could see that being an on and off feud for the next couple of years, because I think they've got a similar style to the Young Bucks, and I think it's great. And so with these teams that they've already got and the potential for more coming in, I mean, I think let's address the big one. If they can get the Revival this year, which I'm under the impression that's what's going to happen, unless WWE makes them a ridiculous offer that they can't refuse, I think it's pretty obvious the Revival at this point is waiting out the contracts, and they want out of WWE, don't they? I mean, and I don't blame them. So if they're coming, they're be a big part of the tag team division. I think this is going to be even better. So yeah, I think for me, some of the matches I like the most are definitely the tag team matches. So yeah, I think for me, this is absolutely one of the biggest pros of the company, and I think they can only get better from here. And like I say, because I think the Young Bucks are behind this because they love tag team wrestling, and looks like neither Nick or Matt really have any desire to break off the Young Bucks and go out on their own. Although to be fair, that would be interesting to me anyway. I'll maybe do a Nick versus Matt feud in a couple of years' time, maybe. I think the goal is maybe can we get these tag team division up to the point where it could be accepted as the main event act. We'll see. Then for me, number 2, I think the crowds are generally great. I think what AEW has done really well. One thing they've done really well, they know the fan base. Is it a niche fan base? Yeah, I think it is. But you can also say the same thing about NXT, and I think that reflects in the fact that neither show draws anywhere near the ratings that Raw SmackDown do. So it's a niche fan base, but I think it's a fan base that are really hungry and they really like the AEW product, and AEW caters them a lot and gives them a product that they like, and as a result, if you watch all the Dynamite, 90% of the time the crowds are really, really hot, and they're cheering for the action as well, and cheering for the characters and booing for the characters, and you don't get any instance of hijacking the shows and shitting all over baby faces for no reason, doing these annoying chants like "we are awesome," and like some of the stupid things we've had with WWE crowds trying to hijack the shows over the last several years. This really became a thing the night after WrestleMania 29, and it's just got a little bit more annoying since then. Or sometimes you watch a WWE crowd, and I'm not going to slag them off because sometimes WWE gives them crappy shows, but some of the crowds are just so quiet and don't give a shit. So at least, because I think if the crowds are good, I think that definitely helps the product seem more exciting. And if you watch the match, put it this way, I've seen a lot of matches that were good matches that were made better with a hot crowd, and I've seen matches that were technically fine, but they seemed worse matches because the crowd didn't really give a shit. So this is one thing I'll praise AEW for. They've done a good job of recognising the audience and giving them a product to cater towards that and getting the crowds hot for the show. And then number 3, the young youthful roster. This is something that stands out to me big time when watching the AEW shows. The roster just, because it just comes across as young and youthful, and that's a good thing. I mean, look at some of the guys on the roster, and so MGF 23, 24, Private Party both early 20s, Sammy Guevara about 26, even someone like Hangman Page who was getting pushed there. It was obviously going to be a future star, 27. Darby Allin, early 20s as well. I mean, so what I like about that is this is the actions of a company that intends to be around for a long time. So it's pitching its whacking at some of these young guys, and so something in like 2 or 3, 5 years time, some of these young guys could be AEW main eventers. So say because they're well on the way to making MGF a main event star. So say they do that, MGF's a main eventer and he's like 25 years old. In theory, you can get 10 great years out of him, maybe even more. When you think about like how WWE did this with Randy Orton, and now he's not even 40 yet, and he's still one of the top guys in WWE. So he's been pushed to the big star for 15 years now. Then even like some of the guys that are a lot more established, like Cody Rhodes, like Jon Moxley, they're both only 34. So you look at them. Although they're not exactly young guys anymore, they're in the prime of their careers, so you could easily get 5 or 6 more good years out of them. Kenny Omega's 36, so a little bit older, but certainly not an old guy by any stretch of the imagination. I think like Matt Jackson's 30. I think Rey Fenix is still in his 20s. I think Santana and Ortiz are both pretty young. So really the only 3 old guys you have on the roster is Chris Jericho, and we're going to get to him, no doubt about that, 49 years old, and then Dustin Rhodes, 50 years old. So as far as having older guys in the roster, those are really the only 2, and then obviously Christopher Daniels as well. Christopher Daniels is about 47, 48, something like that. So yeah, I just felt it because I think these Chris Jericho and Dustin stand out as being the legends because they're really the elder statesmen of the company, and they've got all these young guys to work with them, and it just really works. I really like it. I think it's something AEW has done really, really well, and for me, I think if they have good scouting, they can scout the independent scene, find these young guys, keep bringing them in, keep the roster youthful, and for me, they shouldn't really be going all out to get ex-WWE guys in the late 30s and early 40s. I mean, you can cherry pick 1 or 2 or 3, but I don't think you should be building your roster around people like that. I think you should stick with what you're doing with the likes of Darby Allin and MJF. So as far as the young guys that AEW is creating that I'm seeing the most in, I think obviously MJF's obvious standout. He's got so much going for him. He's got youth, charisma, good body. He's good enough in the ring. I don't think he's great in the ring, but I think he's good enough. I mean Darby Allin, because I think he has so much potential to be like a Jeff Hardy type guy for AEW. I think a lot about Private Party as well. I think those guys, really like what they're doing. I think they could be really, really good. So those are the 4 that I really see the most in as far as the young guys. And obviously Hangman Page is only 27, 28 himself. So obviously he's going to have a big... I think eventually he will be the AEW champion because I think that's what they want. I think they might have even considered doing him, but they went with Chris Jericho instead. But I think you can build Hangman Page for another couple of years, and then I think you can get like 10 good years out of Hangman Page on that level. So that'll be pretty interesting. So yeah, that's what I like. And then we got number 4, the pacing of the storylines. I think they do this really well. And I think this is a big advantage you have over Raw SmackDown. So AEW just has 2 hours of Dynamite every week. Then they got AEW Dark, but you don't really see that much storyline development. That, from what I gather, it's really just matches with underutilised guys in the roster. You got 2 hours of Dynamite every single week. And then you got, obviously, I think it's looking like it's going to be 4 pay-per-views every year. And I think they're probably going to do that fight for the fall and over the summer. So you don't have your 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, pay-per-view every single month, sometimes twice a month. I mean, sometimes in WWE we get like 14, 15 pay-per-views a year. And obviously like 5 hours of cable television every single week. So AEW has a big advantage in this state. So because I feel like the way they've built Jericho and John Moxley, they've had the time to really build the storyline slowly, with them having stare downs over the title, and then Chris Jericho. Because I love how they've done it. How Chris Jericho immediately saw John Moxley as a threat, and then he's tried to get John Moxley to come to the Inner Circle, and then obviously Moxley turned it down. And then that's led to the Inner Circle damaging John Moxley's eye, which we'll talk more about in a little bit. So I think if this was WWE, for example, because I think the Jericho and Moxley feud would have started, and they would have had a match 2 or 3 weeks later, because the feud starts, they've got a pay-per-view at the end of the month, and they need a big pay-per-view match, so they have to put it on there. Because this feud started right after Full Gear, and they're going to have the first match at Revolution at the end of February, so that's nearly 4 months. So yeah, nearly 4 months before we got the first match between these two. If this was WWE, this feud would have already had at least 3 matches on either television or pay-per-view by now, maybe even more. And then I feel like when they did the Cody MGS stuff, if this is WWE, they probably would have had a match the next night on Raw, or maybe the week after that. But again, that's another feud start to Full Gear. They're going to have the first match at Revolution, because I've got to assume these are going to be multi-pay-per-view feuds. So say these feuds start now and end at Double or Nothing in May, that's like 7 solid months of build between these 2 feuds alone. So it really started off with Cody challenging MJF, and then MJF laying out the stipulations, and then Cody takes Cody a couple of weeks to have set the stipulations. And then we're going to see the stipulations play out, because he's going to get you 10 lashes this week on Dynamite. And I think he's going to face Wardlow next week in the steel cage match. Then the match will happen at Revolution. So I do like how they've really done that. And I like how, another one, this is a small one, but I think it's a really good one, how Pac's not giving up on his quest to have another match with Kenny Omega. I feel like, because Pac's been doing this for a couple of weeks, maybe about 5 or 6 weeks now. Hasn't happened. So like I say, if this was WWE, they probably would have rushed the Omega Pac rubber match for the next week on Raw, SmackDown. But this one's building nicely. And even Kenny Omega's even breaking off into the tag team division, so he's making Pac wait even longer. So by the time they do have the match, people will be dying to see it, and it should be an exciting match. So that's one of the big things I really like about AEW. The storylines take time, and you get a little bit of patience, and they don't feel rushed. Because there's sometimes in WWE, and this is simply because they've got so much television and pay-per-view to fill, the storyline can pretty much culminate in a week or 2. And they could have had like 3 or 4 matches on television in that time. And by the time I have the blow-off, this is what I feel a lot when I see WWE having blow-off matches. I'm like, can this feud not just end already? I'm sick to death of it. I just want to see it done now. That's kind of how I feel in feuds like this. And with AEW, I'm not really feeling that yet. I feel like they've got so much more. And I hope they continue this trend, because I think it's a really good thing for them. Number 5, the impending heel turn from Hangman Page. I love what they've been doing with Hangman Page over the last few weeks. It really looks like they're going to have Hangman Page break away from the Elite and go out on his own. He's slowly turning heel, and I think it's great. I think it's kind of funny as well how they have Hangman Page. They've pretty much slowly started building a storyline where he likes to have a drink a lot, and that's affecting his judgment, his performances, and that's pissing off the other members of the Elite. I mean, the first hint was when the Dark Order beat everyone down, Hangman Page wasn't there. And over the Hangman Page and Kenny Omega's been teamed up a little bit, but they've been doing a little thing where Hangman Page has been having a beer in his hand, he's been having a drink in his hand, getting drunk and all that, making snide little comments as well to the Young Bucks, which I think has been awesome. So he's been making little comments like, yeah, best tag team in the world. Funny how me and Omega's already number 1 contenders, and then when he won the title, yeah, isn't it funny how we won the tag team title straight away? And Kenny Omega's trying to keep the peace, but you can see you can see slowly every week Kenny Omega getting more and more frustrated with Hangman Page. So I feel like when Page does turn heel, he's going to probably have a feud with Kenny Omega, and hopefully that goes well for him. That could be really good for him. Because I feel like when you think the elite guys, you pretty much put Hangman Page last, don't you? You probably go, well, on paper, Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, then Hangman Page after that. So I feel like getting away from Hangman Page I think it'll be really good for him in the long run. Anyway, then pro number 6, Pac. Really love this guy. Really big fan of this guy. Of course, probably biased him because I'm from the northeast of England, just like Pac as well. I mean, he's a Geordie. I'm not a Geordie, but I'd live quite close to Newcastle. And I think they've done a really great job of making Pac seem like the star that he could have been in WWE. I mean, the way Pac's been booked over the last few months in AEW, there's no reason why, say if WWE took Neville out of the Cruiserweight division in 2017, there's no reason why he couldn't have been at the level he is now in 2018 or something like that. I mean, Neville Pac's no smaller than a lot of guys have headlined WWE have been. And what I like about Pac is a short guy, but he's got a tremendous physique as well. And I think he's so versatile in the ring as well. He can be powerful, he can high fly, he can technical wrestle. I mean, a lot of people might see a few highlights of Pac Neville and think, yeah, he's just a flip guy, whatever. But no, I think he's so much more than that. I think he's an extremely well-rounded wrestler. And one thing I always thought, I didn't really think he had much charisma. He's good on the mic. But now I've seen him kind of let loose in AEW a bit, because I think one thing's fairly obvious when you watch AEW. The guys aren't given heavily scripted promos like they are in WWE. I mean, I'm sure there's some creative input in them, like, you've got to hit this, you've got to say that, you've got to make this point. But I think for the most guys, they let guys talk and do their own stuff, and it's not someone reading or memorising a 2-page script from a script writer that's had about 1,000 edits to it, like, because you can see that in WWE. Sometimes when a performer can't pull it off, stands out like a sore thumb, that this guy's just memorising a script. So now Pac's got that advantage. I think he's a very good promo, maybe not a great promo. And I do like how AEW just said, fuck it, you can talk in your real accent all you want. I mean, God, I know for a fact, because I know what a Geordie accent sounds like. I know that WWE obviously made Pac tone down his Geordie accent because they thought maybe Americans wouldn't understand what he was saying. Like, my name's Pac, I'm a bastard, and Kenny Omega, I want to beat you, like. So stuff like that. But yeah, and I think obviously he's had a lot of great matches in that time. And I think he just comes across as a badass. And yeah, I just feel like he's one of the great guests that AEW had. I think they were so lucky that Pac had gotten out of his WWE contract just a few months before AEW launched. So the fact they got him, and yeah, I just think he's in great. And I think this guy is just going to do so much more in AEW. I mean, we've got that big match with Kenny Omega to look forward to. He's had a couple of matches with Jon Moxley, and those have been really good. So full-blown feud between those two could be really good. Down the line, a feud with Cody, that could be pretty excellent. And whoever comes up, really, so maybe someone like Darby Allin or whoever the hell AEW signs and tries to make a star, they could have good matches with Pac. Because I think WWE definitely missed a trick here. I mean, if you remember, when Neville joined the Cruiserweight division and was pretty much the king of that division, I think we saw elements of what he could do then, but obviously WWE didn't see that. They thought, yeah, we'll have Enzo Amore as a Cruiserweight champion, we'll have him go over this guy. And like I said, there's no reason why Pac couldn't be doing well on the WWE main roster now, facing someone like Daniel Bryan or something like that. Or there's no reason why in 2018 he could have been on SmackDown feuding with AJ Styles over the WWE Championship. Maybe that's just me, maybe I'm biased, but Pac's one of my favourite parts of AEW. Then we got the old school elements of the show. What I like about what they've done, from what I can gather, they've taken a lot of stuff there, a lot of elements from old school WCW, and even some from like old school territories back in the day. So they're not really trying to be like WWE. They're trying to be a lot like WCW. I see a lot of Nitro elements in the presentation and structure of the show and all that, and that's really good. I think it's obvious why, because Cody's a big part of the show, and Cody, of course, the sort of Dusty Rhodes, who was probably his big name for that old school and booked a lot of this shit back in the past. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of like southern elements to it. Like we've had a few time limit draws, which I think they should do more of them. I think that's a really good thing to do. Then when they had like the judges at ringside for the Chris Jericho Cody match at Full Gear, and some of the stuff in this one, like for example, Cody's going to get lashings this week. That was pretty much a staple of most Southern territories back in the day. The babyface would get lashings from the heel, and then later on when the heel got his comeuppance, we got the heel got the lashings as well. Stuff like the Cruise of Jericho, that reminded me a hell of a lot. Although it wasn't the same season, but the presentation, the look of that reminded me a lot of those Spring Break Nitros. And it would be cool if AEW went back and did Spring Break shows this spring, because visually those are always the coolest looking Nitros in my opinion. I really do enjoy that. Stuff like the angle where in a circle stabbed John Mox in the eye and put his eye out, and now John Mox has been selling the eye injury. He's got an eye patch. That was taken off the big angle with Dusty Rhodes and the Road Warriors back in 1988, when the Road Warriors put one of the spikes in the shoulder pads in Dusty's eye and tried to take his eye out. That was a good one. And if you remember the build up to the Jericho Cody match at Full Gear, that reminded me a hell of a lot of the Ric Flair going to Starrcade in 1993. I mean, if you remember, going to that contract sign on Nitro, it was Tony Schiavone picked Cody Rhodes up from his house. They showed footage of him getting in a limousine riding to the arena. That was pretty much taken directly when Mean Gene picked Ric Flair up, and they travelled to Starrcade in 1993 together when we were talking about the match. So yeah, I do like that bit, because I feel like these sort of things haven't been done for a long time. So the fan base now probably hasn't seen a lot of it before. So what's old is kind of new again. I know that's a cliche, but the old stuff's kind of new again, and I really would like to see more stuff like this. I would maybe like to see maybe just a tiny rule, but one that I think would be kind of cool, if they bring back the thrown over the top ropes with disqualification rule, because that was an old NWA rule back in the day, and as far as WCW. Yeah, I just feel like, I think a lot of it looks like an old Nitro as well, the way it's presented and all that, and sometimes the grittiness and stuff like that. Well, there's another one I remember now, which is an old school angle as it comes. You remember when Jake Hager in the Inner Circle broke Dustin Rhodes' hand when they slammed his hand in the car door? Well, I immediately remember the Enforcers slammed the car door on Barry Windham's knee in like 1991. So stuff like that. I mean, if it can keep the good elements of WCW, NWA around, that'd be good. Hopefully this doesn't drift off doing the bad elements, so hopefully we don't see stuff like movie ties of RoboCop or Stephen Amell as an AEW World Champion, or even worse, Tony Khan as an AEW Champion and somebody's mother on a forklift match. Hopefully we don't see any of that. I really so I like that bit. And then number 8, Cody and MJF. Everything about the storyline, great. I mean, the promos to me, they haven't even wrestled yet, and I can't wait to see this match. Built this match up pretty much so perfectly, and it's one of the oldest stories in the book, isn't it? The student turns on the mentor. So what I loved initially is MJF was a dick, and it's pretty much established this guy was an arsehole. So essentially he was a heel, but he was Cody's protege. So I loved like how he acted like a dick to everybody else, but when he was around Cody, he was always a good guy, and he would always protect Cody and all that. It's one of those things they established early on. I mean, if you've watched wrestling for long enough, you can see storylines like this coming. You know, some point they're going to do the thing where MJF's going to turn on Cody. I thought it might have happened at All Out, but it didn't, and I'm glad they didn't. But it did happen at Full Gear. It was MJF that threw in the towel to cost Cody Rhodes the AEW World title that he's never ever going to get a shot at again, right? I mean, he will obviously get an AEW title shot at some point. It's just a case of when they decide to get around that stipulation. So there you go. Then at the end of the match, MJF kicks Cody Rhodes in the balls, lays him out. So now instantly MJF's like the most hated heel in the company practically, just pretty much overnight. And then they just I love the way they built it. I mean, the promos, the whole MJF, Cody wanting MJF in the ring, MJF only wanting to do it in his term, laying out the stipulations, and now it's going to be a now we're going to see this play out, because like I said earlier. And then when you get this match, it's awesome. Like I said, MJF, big fan of this guy. This guy is going to be the first real homegrown AEW champion. Maybe 2 or 3 years time, I think he will be one of the tippy top guys in the company. And if WWE don't sniff around, he can be one of the AEW's top guys for the next 5-10 years, maybe more. And Cody, of course, I think Cody's definitely really one of the shining lights of the company, even right from the beginning. I mean, remember Double or Nothing? What was everyone talking about in Double or Nothing? The Cody versus Dustin match. To most people, that was their favourite match in AEW history so far. And if he won them, I'm not going to argue with you. That was an amazing match. Then I think some of Cody's work in the build up to Full Gear, fantastic. And then and just, cause I think it's obvious now that Cody's just himself. I mean, I think he's such a likeable babyface, and we saw this at times in WWE. I think if you remember back to the Cody Goldust and the Shield feud, you saw elements of that, but it never quite happened for Cody in WWE. And I feel like he's one of those guys, he had to leave WWE to find himself and improve his character and improve as an overall performer. And look at him now. He's 34, he's in his prime of his career. He's cutting awesome promos, pretty much most promos he does. And for the most part, I think his matches have been really good. I think that was one of the criticisms of Cody in New Japan and Ring of Honor. Well, the in-ring work wasn't that great. But I think in AEW, so far so good. The 2 Darby Allin matches, the one with Sammy Guevara on the first Dynamite, the pay-per-view match of Dustin, the pay-per-view match of Jericho, and hopefully the MJF one continues that trend. Then Pro number 9, I think the aura of Jon Moxley. That's what I've written down. The aura of Jon Moxley. I feel like AEW has done an incredible job of making this guy look like a star, because every time he comes out, I think he's got that aura. You want to, if you're kind of watching, but you're not really watching, maybe you're watching the show, but you're on your phone or something, or reading Twitter or whatever have you, then you see Jon Moxley come up the screen. He makes you want to stop what you're doing and just watch, see what this guy's all about. I mean, the AEW has done an incredible job of booking him so far. They've booked him strong. They haven't really made him look weak at all. They've made him smart, intelligent, and they built him so nicely to the point now where I think he pretty much has to win the AEW title at Revolution and be the next AEW champion. And I think like this is one of the biggest gets AEW had. I mean, yes, Chris Jericho, yes, the Elite guys, but a guy in his prime, fresh off WWE, because I feel like that's when casual fans can see that, who maybe when you watch WWE, and they wonder what Dean Ambrose is doing now. Then you tell them, well, he's called Jon Moxley, and you can watch him on AEW Dynamite every week. They might think, might check this out to see what it's all about. And yeah, I just feel like he's being himself now, isn't he, rather than Dean Ambrose and WWE. Well, let's be honest, Dean Ambrose, it'd be ridiculous to say Dean Ambrose had a bad WWE run, wouldn't it? I mean, he was part of the Shield, he was in and around the main event scene for most of his time there, he was even WWE champion. But when you look at how Roman Reigns turned out and how Seth Rollins turned out, you definitely think Ambrose was definitely a notch below them. And the times he was booked so poorly, had a few daft stories. I mean, they really had a tendency to book him in comedy segments, which is fine for a while, but once you're doing that every time, I think fans really lost interest in him. And obviously, as what Moxley said, he didn't like most of his creative either, and now he's gone to AEW. And I feel like they're just letting him cut promos and letting him be himself, and letting him be that tough, badass guy. And he just comes across like such a star to me. And I feel like he's only going to get started here. I think it's only going to get better from here. And then Number 10, sorry, and the last one I want to make is just pretty much Chris Jericho, the champion, all of it. Everything Chris Jericho's done for AEW has been golden. I mean, for me, I made a comment on someone's video that I think like Chris Jericho, John Moxley is really carrying AEW right now. And I think like Chris Jericho's pretty much in these early stages carried the promotion on his back, and then they really ride on the Chris Jericho way. Because I think a lot of people are critical of AEW having Chris Jericho as their champion. Oh, he's an old guy. What they doing having a 48-year-old guy as a world champion? But the thing is, they're just getting on television. They're a brand new company. They're just getting started. They needed an established name to put the title on that people would know. Someone who's had lots of experience of being a star before. I mean, let's face it, Chris Jericho, a lifetime of experience in this business. I mean, because I think over the last couple of years, the way he's reinventing himself for all these generations. I mean, Chris Jericho's been something of a level star since like 97, 98, so we're going on over 20 years now. And it struck me really that some of the people Chris Jericho's been wrestling in AEW weren't even alive when Chris Jericho started wrestling. That's just absolutely crazy. And some of them weren't born to like Chris Jericho's already wrestling for WCW, which is just mental to me. Just the way he's managed to reinvent himself over the last few years. He's got to be approaching a greatest in the conversation for greatest of all time. I mean, he's got to be. I mean, I've been a Jericho fan for a long, long time. I mean, I think I first started liking Jericho when he was doing the conspiracy theorist, the crazy guy in WCW in 1998. And I've been there from Y2J to Chris Jericho in the Ruthless Aggression era. Then Chris Jericho coming back doing the Honest Man Jericho thing in 2008, 2009. Coming back to the CM Punk feud. Then obviously the last run he had with Kevin Owens and the list and all that, golden. And then I'm leaving WWE, going to New Japan, getting the feud with Kenny Omega. And that's obviously morphing into his work in AEW. And I just feel like he stands out so much. Mainstream wise, he's got to be the biggest star that the company's got. I feel like every time he cuts a promo, he pretty much nails it out the park. I think he's got a good thing going in with the Inner Circle. And yeah, I think he's changed his look up again. And just, Chris Jericho can get anything over. I don't care what you say. He got a list over. Then he did a backstage promo after he won the title saying, I'm going to have a little bit of the bubbly. And that got over ridiculous. Like something ridiculous like that. Talking about getting a bit of the bubbly. Got it over. And then like simple catchphrase like Le Champion. Yeah, he got it over. It's like, and I feel like all of his work's been good. All the stuff in the build up for the Cody Rhodes match, when the Inner Circle that he's formed, that's a group with so much potential. I love how he's got his heater in Jake Hagar, who just does all this dirty work. He's got his tag team in Santana and Ortiz, and he's got his student in Sammy Guevara, because I think that's an obvious thing for maybe a year or two down the line. Guevara to turn babyface against Chris Jericho, and they have a feud with Jericho putting him over. I think that'll happen. And he's gone out his way to try and make people as well, which is what Chris Jericho's done for most of his career. I mean, that little title match of Darby Allin was really exciting. Then if you remember, he had a little thing with Scorpio Sky for a couple of weeks, had the title match of him. And even that little angle with Jungle Boy was really, really good. Although personally I would have preferred it to be with Luchasaurus, but whatever. And then now obviously the stuff with John Moxley has just been fantastic. I think everything about this feud has been pretty much excellent. Because like I say, if this was WWE, they would have already had about at least 3 matches by now. So I think because what Chris Jericho did, it makes John Moxley make so much, because Chris Jericho recognises Moxley as a threat. Immediately he tries to steer him off challenging for the AEW Championship. Offers him a big spot in the Inner Circle with Moxley turning him down. And then they try to stop Moxley becoming the number 1 contender by taking his eye out, but that didn't work. So now Chris Jericho's going to have to face John Moxley man on man. And when he does, I feel like Chris Jericho, it's time for him to drop the title to John Moxley. Because at this point, I think Moxley's ready to be the next champion. And after that, Chris Jericho can go back to his role. He can challenge Moxley for a while. Then I think after that, he can really use it to help build younger guys. But I think At 49 years old, Chris Jericho. And the thing is, people say he's not as good in the ring anymore, but then granted, he's not Chris Jericho of like 2001, 2002, or even like Chris Jericho back in his younger days in the mid-90s. But have a look at the matches Chris Jericho's had in AEW so far. Has any of them sucked? No. They've all at least been very good. I think the Cody one was excellent. Kenny Omega one was probably great as well. And like I say, on the mic, I think only really John Moxley and Cody Rhodes and maybe MJF can touch him right now. So yeah, that's pretty much, that's a long video, 1 hour 10 minutes. So I'd like to think this is a balanced video. I've pointed out some good things, I've pointed out some not so good things that AEW has done. I just want to say I do actually want AEW to succeed. I am watching AEW, so I'm interested to see how they do. So yeah, like I say, I'd like some feedback on this. What do you guys like about AEW? What do you not like about AEW? Explain that sort of thing. And that's a wrap for this one, guys. So thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.